Today I am working on my 2006 Suzuki Eiger 4x4 400. I am replacing the factory rotors and converting them over to these. These are the old ones, very badly scarred, and they're pretty thin already too. So I bought these new ones and upgraded. This is basically what you have to do here. You have to remove your front tire, and then your brake caliper, which is held on by two 6mm bolts, one here and the other one down here, and then the whole caliper housing will just come right off. I'll set that aside. I want to let it hang. Next thing you need is a pair of needle nose pliers. You can use these needle nose, or you can use a pair of side cutters to get your cotter pin out. Once you remove your cotter pin, you need to remove this castle nut. This castle nut, if you have factory CV joints, these right here, if you have these factory, they're going to be a 30mm. If you don't, then you're going to have a different size, like what I have right now. Mine is a 36mm. So you remove that castle nut. Once you remove that castle nut, this whole hub should just, well, I say should just pull right out. This one's fighting me. I don't really have that trouble. Huh. There we go. Just lay right out. And this is what you're left with. Just the hub and your rotor. These bolts, you want to buy new ones. You're going to have to get them from a Suzuki dealer, or you're going to have to get them from you know, Suzuki's Parts R Us. Maybe eBay has them. Getting these bolts off is a pain in the ass. I'm not gonna lie, you don't want to reuse them. Just buy some new ones. For a set of 8, you'll probably pay like 25-30 bucks, but you don't want to reuse these old ones. A lot of times they strip out. They have Loctite on them. A lot of times they won't go in right, they won't stay. You have to apply heat to get them out. Heat it up here and inside of that hole. Heat it all up real good, and then they'll usually come out. If not, you're gonna fight with it to get them out. It's a pain in the ass. I fought with this one to get it out. It was a pain in the ass. As you can tell, I have new bolts. It was missing one, so I went to the hardware store and just bought another one. It's not the right one, but I'm going right in tomorrow, so it's gonna hold on. It'll hold till next week. It's just one ride. These bolts, they have a little shank on them, and they hold that rotor in place just right. This is one of the old ones. See, I caught hell getting it out, but it has a little shank. That little shank holds this disc in place, so it doesn't move around. So it holds it in place and keeps it good firm. And if you don't have that, it's riding, your disc is going to be riding on the thread of the bolt, and it'll cause it to snap. So you want to get these bolts. They're special bolts. It's easier just to get them. You'll have a lot of trouble in the long run if you don't. But once you have everything done, you have your new rotor on. Simple as putting it back together the same way you took it off, and you're done. Repeat the steps. Alright, so once you have your hub off, I'm on it in my vise. You have these 4 bolts here that hold the rotor on. They're 6mm Allens. They're pretty tight. They have Loctite on them, so they're real tight. What I had to wind up doing, since I messed up my first one, I was able to get it out. I used a die grinder, notched it in there, and was able to tap it out. What I had to do is get the Loctite nice and hot. By doing that, I used one of these little propane torches, and I heated it up inside of the hole. That's where the bolt goes, right there inside that hole. Comes out the other side, so that way you can heat it up. And I heated it up right here real good, and then I was able to break them loose. They were still a little hard after I put that 6mm Allen in there. So what I wound up using was a piece of pipe and using it as a cheater bar to help me out and get that extra little bit of torque out of it. And they came out. The first one was a pain in the ass, and but I was able to get the rest of them out, no problem. So once you have them off, this is what they look like. See, they have that little shoulder on them. You need bolts just like this to replace it. If you do not use these type of bolts, if you just use a regular bolt, it doesn't have that little shank on there. So when it sits in here, your rotor will be loose and it'll be playing around like that, and it'll wind up snapping your bolts off, and you're going to damage a lot of shit. So they were hard to find. I found them on eBay. I found them on like Suzuki warehouse, parts warehouse, something like that. That's what it looks like without it. But the bolts do have Loctite on them, so that's why they're hard to get off. If you try to just take them off like that, you're going to wind up stripping these out, and that's going to happen to you. You're going to have to do something like this to get it out. The first thing I would do, especially if they're original like this, is just go ahead and heat it up. Get that Loctite nice and hot, and it'll melt itself out, and the bolts will come right out.